Again, what a great event it was, Leadership Livingston, with the graduation for the class here in Holden, of all places, Ferrara Fire Apparatus. One of the many on hand, Tracy Girlinghouse, the parish councilman, but also we heard a participant in the class this year.
Yes, Ken, I was a participant this year. I was endorsed by Rick Ramsey. He actually brought me into the program and sponsored me. I did it this whole entire year. Very awesome program, full of just future leaders in the parish, future leaders in the community. Just an experience that is second to none.
Well, some would say that as a member of the parish council and a former city councilman in Walker, what about the parish didn't you know that you had to learn?
Wow. You know, that's one of those things where it's an eye-opener. You think you know so much more about the parish, and then when you get there, when you get into class and they take you around the parish and you go to places like Killian and Livingston and all on the other side, the east end of the parish, and you learn the history and French settlement. You learn how these communities came into being and the deep, rich history of it. You know, Livingston Parish really is kind of many cultures all in itself. It is mind-boggling how it differentiates from the east side to the west side to the north. You know.
Well, also, I mean, your group actually did so many projects, or at least contributed, but when I say contributed, doing the lion's share. And I'm thinking about, for example, Champions Field in Walker, the playground for all, handicapped as well as all children. I mean, it must really make you feel good to have a role in those things.
Well, the Challenger Field, I did help bring it about in Walker as a Walker City Councilman and the Mayor Pro Tem in Walker. But the Challengers Field was handled by last year's class, and yes, I mean, just a massive undertaking for those guys. I'm in awe for that class and that group and what they did to bring that about with the mayor and hit the group that was involved with that. That is going to be epic for kids, for the city, for handicapped individuals, where they have a field where they can actually participate and play. It's going to be second to none. It's going to be top notch, and it's going to be an asset to the community, the entire parish, and to Walker.
Well, this year the helipad in Killian, the playground in Albany, the shoes for kids who need them, and other projects that were done this year, such as just a long list.
Oh, absolutely. You know, Ken, the leadership Livingston and the chamber, and the involvement that they do in the community is just immense. You know, these projects where you bring in and you think it's no small thing. Every project impacts so many people at a high level. Same with the Challengers Field. It's such a huge project that it really hasn't come to fruition yet. When it is, it's going to be monumental. But you know, just not to take anything away from like Heart and Soul, where you know they got shoes for needy children who needed shoes for school. And the helipad, which will be a good, like the presentation said, a good evacuation point for emergencies in that end of the parish. So
the lighting in Denham Springs.
The lighting in Denham Springs, yeah, that was actually my group, the group that I was in, and it really did enhance that area. You know, that it's hard to tell by the presentation, but we stayed out there at night when they brought it up at the Brewfest they had last month, and it really did light up and enhance the area, and hopefully it'll bring about the businesses staying open a little later, you know, people feeling a little bit safer, and you know, and can help with overall commerce in that in the antique district. So
one project I know you're working on is the Safe House in Walker next.
Yes, yeah, the Safe House is something that's very near and dear to me. You know, that is a project that is in connection with FEMA and the federal government, where they have given us they wanted to build a safe house for emergency situations, not so much for displaced people, but for the emergency crews like FEMA and the fire departments to have a central area to get together and coordinate efforts, you know, overall for the emergency situation. The FEMA and the federal government came to us and gave us a building in Walker, and then said, hey, we would like to use it, and we get to use it any other time it's not being used for an emergency situation, which is 99.9% of the time. We expanded the size, the roof, and we got some credit. It was an 80-20 match, I think, and so we got some credit for the land and for the dirt field that we had put there. So it cost the city a very little, but in turn they're going to get an event center with basketball courts and volleyball courts and things for people to have weddings and family get-togethers and barbecues, and it's just going to be good for the city and Sidney Hutchinson Park.
When's the ribbon cutting?
That I don't know, but I know I spoke with the mayor and Mark Harrell like 2 weeks ago, and they said it was going to be probably within a month or two.
So I always want to find one negative thing to bring up. And look, maybe it's not a negative, but everybody in Walker is really concerned about the world's greatest list of roundabouts that the Highway Department is planning for the traffic configuration on Highway 447. Now, they've toned it down a bit, but what do you think?
I think that I think that the roundabouts, the two they have at the interstate right now, are going to be a good thing. I had my doubts too, but having traveled to South Carolina on a business trip unrelated and saw how their roundabouts work in a similar situation, it really does help traffic flow. There's going to be a learning curve. People are going to have to learn how to navigate these things, but in all it's better than a stop and go red light turn situation like they have them at most intersections off the interstate. It's the biggest issue, the biggest question in that is the widening of the 447 overpass, which is paramount to all of that traffic flow becoming better. The parish isn't going to get any smaller. The city of Walker isn't getting any smaller. So whenever they do complete the roundabouts, I think the next project and the next problem on the list would be the overpass at 447.
But I mean, how many roundabouts are we talking about in total?
I'd heard anything from 8 to 7. I think we're around, last I heard was like 4. The city has very little say of this and how that happens. The 2 that we have going in now, I think they're going to put those in and assess the rest, how it goes from there. I see the one at Eden's coming up now, and it's coming along. We'll see. I'm not for. I don't know how anybody could be for 7, 8, 9 roundabouts in that short distance. I mean, you would just be constantly in a roundabout. There's not enough room there for that many roundabouts. So
does the Highway Department know that?
Well, I'm at all. I'm flabbergasted on that. When I heard that first number, I had originally made a quote. I said it's going to be like Groundhog Day. You're just going to get on the roundabout and stay on a roundabout, and you won't ever get off. But truthfully, I mean, if you're talking about 7, 8 roundabouts in that distance from the interstate to Florida Boulevard, I don't know how they're going to fit them in there. Now, I think they've probably scaled that number back. I don't think they're going to do that many roundabouts. But so we'll just go with the 2 we have for now at the interstate, and we'll play it by ear from there.
What else do you want to share with us?
Well, that they have the Jubin Trails development, which is going to go in on the other side of the interstate. That should, I think there's 2,200 or 2,000 homes, I think, that's eventually going to come in on Buddy Ellis and between Buddy Ellis and the interstate, which in turn will increase traffic flow on 447. Another reason to get the 447 overpass, and as it goes down to Jubin too. So the traffic is going to increase on both. The good news is they're doing a cooperative agreement to where they can widen West Coyell Creek, and if that happens at the widening of West Coyell Creek, then the estimates I've heard, this should drop the flood level and within the city limits and just outside of the city limits, like in suburban acres, 1.5 feet to 2 foot. So that's tremendous. So I'm really working hard to make sure that development, that the community development district that wants to come in there comes, and we're trying to facilitate that for them. It'd be huge for the city of Walker and its residents.